Hello, good morning, and welcome to this morning's episode. Are you someone who has had pain? You've had things going on with you, and by the time you get to the doctor's office, you can't really describe exactly what it was that you were feeling? I personally have had a lot of frustration in having symptoms going on, and by the time I get to the doctor with my really high pain tolerance, I'm almost dismissed. I've got a doctor here who has a very good solution to this problem.
Hi, I am Dr. Marcia Shade. I am founder and CEO of a university-based early startup company called Voice It Incorporated. I am also a clinical nurse with expertise in geriatrics. I am fellowship trained through the NIH, which is the National Institutes of Health, in pain and associated symptoms. On top of that, I am a tenured associate professor at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, where I am faculty and I conduct research.
So that is a big array of hats that you're wearing.
Yes.
What inspired you?
Well, people inspire me, patients inspire me. As a nurse and also as an academic, what I have come to realize is that a lot of the work that we do as nurses is very innovative, and it doesn't get as much attention as it should get. And as a researcher and academic, I spend a lot of my time writing grants, going to conferences, presenting on work in front of all these other scientists and researchers, publishing in journals. But what I'm finding is that, all of that's great, but how can I get this work out to the real people that really need this? So in academia, they talk about how there's a slow translation or transition from research to actual practice. In fact, it takes 10 or more years or so to actually get what we do out to the public. And so what I am aiming to do is make that move quicker. So I kind of worked on doing a startup company on the side to start speeding that process up.
Sharing that. And then are you local? Did you grow up here?
Yep, I am raised in Nebraska. I'm not a Husker fan though, so don't hold that against me.
I don't hold it against you. I usually just vote for, whoever's the underdog.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Is there someone in particular that has inspired you throughout your career?
I don't know if there's someone. I would say my parents are huge motivators for me, my mom and my dad. I would say the biggest person that drove me to go back and earn my doctorate and to focus on pain was my grandmother. My grandmother, my family's from Oklahoma, a town called Duncan, very small, it's really close to the Texas border, about an hour or so. And it's a small town. There's not a lot of access to really good medical care there. And after my grandfather passed, my grandmother was living independently, and she didn't really have any health issues, but she did struggle with a little bit of pain. And in those smaller towns, there is not access to geriatric specialists, pain specialists, and things like that. And so she got a hold of some medications that she probably should not have been taking, and that really escalated her health decline. She ended up being hospitalized. We assumed she suffered a stroke and being placed in a nursing home. And so that whole cascade really prompted me to oh my gosh, we need to do something about this, because my grandmother is an N of one in just one story, but I'm sure this is happening to other people, where we aren't really managing people's pain well and understanding their pain experience and pain story. And that goes with all symptoms, but mostly pain, and that's what got me going down this path, obtaining my PhD, getting my doctorate, doing my fellowship training, and really focusing on this area.
Oh, that's great. I find a lot of times that it must be my grandparents and just small towns. I grew up in a small town, so I always have a warm heart. Geriatrics. I've told the show trying to help them that I grew up in a nursing home. So nurses, they're really just like honest to God, like real life superheroes. You don't get enough credit. It's always, oh, the wonderful, great doctors. Y'all are great, thank you. But let's lift up those nurses too, because you're doing real work. Thank you. How can our community come alongside you? How about?
Just get the word out there. I would love to get connected with anyone who's interested in pain, anyone that's interested in health to come alongside. A lot of the work that I do is I try to make sure it's evidence-based. So again, as a nurse, we do evidence-based practice. So a lot of times I think when people hear, oh, they're a nurse, they think of the bedside and Florence Nightingale and things like that. But our profession is built on science. A lot of the things that we do is based on collecting data, doing research. So we're very driven by evidence. And fun fact, Florence Nightingale was a nurse scientist.
Oh, really?
She was actually a statistician. And back in the Crimean War, she mapped out how many individuals or those that were in the war were dying from certain diseases. And yeah, so she's more than just a nurse. She's actually a scientist, and a lot of the work that she did is driven by research. So everything that I create is based on evidence. I need to make sure what I'm doing is validated. And also in the creation of this software platform, I'm making sure that I am including input from users, from older adults, from clinicians, from anyone in the public to make sure that things are usable and we can pivot or adapt so that it can be useful and be a benefit to those that are using it.
And do you mind telling us a little bit more about it? Like what all this app you do to put?
So right now it's still, the machine learning model is being trained. One of the things that I was very adamant about was not using open source generative AI. When we created the proof of concept, we did. But one of the things you want to be careful about with open generative AI is that it's just pulling data from everywhere. And when you think about pain, there's a lot out there that, women don't really have pain. Females, they're crazy. Don't take their pain seriously. There has been things put out there on the internet about black people in pain. Oh, don't believe black, they're drug seekers, things like that. So I didn't want to pull all of that into my machine learning model, especially using it for assessment in healthcare. I'm building my model from scratch. And so that we can prevent any type of bias in assessment. And then if you back it up, if you think about bias, if you go into a clinician or to a doctor's office and they're asking you about your pain or doing an assessment, your bias is automatically being entered into the conversation. We talked about that.
I 100% have experienced that.
Yeah.
I actually had gone to an emergency type setting, and I do have a very high pace office. And so I'm just sitting there and just kind of going along with it. I have ADHD, I'm neurospicy. And so I just felt right away. And there was this opinion built, like, you're here for meds. Like, because I'm not screaming and agonizing pain. And I'm going to tell you what, at the end of the visit, I was hospitalized. I was put in the hospital and taken IV fluids. And it was probably about 20 minutes before I actually went up to the room that I actually did give the medication. And I see till some point, they need the evidence, they need the science, they need the proof, but I felt like there was definitely a opinion built.
That bias needs to be removed. And so my hope with creating this model from scratch is that I'm eliminating that. And so it does take a lot of data. It takes a lot of manpower. And I have a small team. I'm an early startup. I've been bootstrapping a lot of this through dollars that are federal, as well as through the university internal funding and things like that. But I need more money. So I've been applying for, I applied for SBIR funding, phase 1 funding through the National Institutes of Health. And I'm just looking to source and get additional help. I do have an intern that's working with me in addition to my grad assistants that's helping with some of the model training. We just worked with Village Point Pain Management Clinic and got a hold of some data that we are de-identifying, validating, and putting into code, and I'm doing a lot of the annotation since I am the domain expert in pain. So it's a lot. It took me 3 hours to annotate one dialogue exchange of data. It just takes a long time. So I need bodies. I need people. I'm also looking for someone to come alongside me because I'm a solo entrepreneur, and you know what all I'm doing right now.
All those hats.
I have all of those hats. So like next week I'm going to Boston to the Gerontological Society of America to present on some of the stuff related to this app. So that takes me away from things. So it would be nice to have perhaps a co-founder or that's passionate, someone with some tech, large language modeling expertise that would like to come alongside, and someone that also has expertise or has knowledge about regulations. So my intention is to market this as a software as service, B2B sales, with remote therapeutic monitoring. So this could be done in the person's home if they have a smartphone. We're getting that real-time capture of the person's pain story and pain experience. Think of it like continuous glucose monitoring. It's not necessarily continuous, but if you think about the evolution of diabetic care, how people would come in, do a lab draw, and get their blood sugar checked. Okay, well, you need to go home and do these finger pricks and keep track of your blood sugar levels and write them down and things like that. Well, now we have continuous glucose monitors that's involving a lot of that, as well as machine learning and artificial intelligence to help clinicians as well as patients that are having diabetes or suffering with that disease. It's helping with management of care.
And I was kind of chasing a diagnosis for a few years, and I did find out that I had a cyst and a tear and some things going on, but throughout that time I was definitely like in a journal, just like trying to a planner, and just like writing down stuff, but then every time I would go to the appointment, I would forget to bring it, and then I'm just so then I'm on my phone just like typing in all of these things, and there's so many things that go on with our body, and so I'm trying to give them all of the details. But I'm giving them things that are not related, and it is probably overwhelming.
Very much so. And then if you think about the aging population as well, and if they're by themselves, or sometimes they have to bring a caregiver or loved one with them to help them jog their memory about things. But also think about one of the main issues is time. We have clinical workforce shortages, and maybe 15 minutes tops in an office visit. And if you think about an older adult with chronic multiple conditions, they got diabetes, they got high blood pressure, they got this, that, and the other, that's typically going to be higher priority than pain. And so you only have so much time to get a grasp of what's going on with those conditions, and then pain kind of gets stuffed down to the bottom, and then you're like, well, you can't remember, and you're like, oh, well, they're changing my blood pressure medication, let me focus on that versus the pain that I'm having. or they probably won't believe me anyway.
And just normalize it.
Yeah, they normalize it and they move on until, again, they get back home, and like I said, they place value in how that pain impacts their function, their ability to perform activities of daily living. If they have grandkids come over and they're not able to, oh, well, Grandma Joe, why can't we go in the backyard and play today?
Yeah. Grandma Joe can't get up.
Right.
Hips hurt.
And then that impacts their emotional, mental space and social.
Yeah.
So I use a big word, but it's true. It's a model. It's called biopsychosocial. There's a biopsychosocial model of pain. So it's not just, ouch, I stubbed my toe and I've got this pain now. But pain is just not, it's not unilateral. There's so many factors that impact it. It's multifaceted. So there's a biological aspect of it, which of course is the granular cellular nerves, fibers, all of those things, genetics. And then there's also the psychological component, the emotional component, the mental component. If you're an anxious person, that's going to impact your pain. If you're a depressed person, that's going to impact your pain. One of the things that I like to talk about is and it's kind of controversial, but the gentleman who shot the United Healthcare CEO, he had chronic pain. And one of the things is that he was socially withdrawing. I was reading his story, and his loved ones were saying, well, he, just kind of started isolating himself. Pain can cause you to isolate yourself. So that's why I'm saying biopsychosocial, and there's so many pieces beyond the 0 to 10 pain scale that we really need to understand. So it's definitely an experience.
Yeah.
And we're not really doing a good job at capturing that. And if we don't understand the experience, how can we manage it? How can we set goals?
Yeah.
And do better treatment?
Yeah, I appreciate that. What type of advice would you give to the next generation that are looking towards entrepreneurship themselves, or just looking towards big goals, getting their doctorate? What type of advice would you give to them?
My gosh. Just do it.
Just do it.
Nike. Just do it. And then don't listen to the naysayers. And if you have the naysayers that come, just nod and just say okay and go on about your business. But don't give up on your God-given purpose. And I almost did. And I say that because I almost did. And if I had listened to the naysayers or the people who had said, oh, you can't do that. Oh, well, you're a nurse. You're just a nurse. Or nurses don't do that. Nurses don't do businesses. Nurses don't do tech. Just play in our box, in this sandbox, and don't go outside.
Sure.
If I had listened to that, I would have lost out on so many opportunities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So stick to your guns and
just do it.
Yeah, just do it. Shake the haters off.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And so is there something that you do to help center yourself for the day? Maybe you have a walkout song, or what type of activities do you do to
well, I don't play about my health. I am a cancer survivor.
Wow.
Yes, I was diagnosed with cancer at 40, and I am cancer free. And ever since then, I don't play about my health. So I eat right. I make sure I get the right sleep. I try to limit my stress. I know I do a lot. But I'm very, very, very intentional about me time. So I do set out time in the morning and in the evening that focuses on me. So every morning I get up, I read, I pray, meditate, I read a devotional. So I get into my word. I am a woman of faith. So I do that every morning. It's a non-negotiable. And then I also work out. I belong to a gym here, so I'm very passionate about physical fitness, whether it's running. I've done half marathons and things like that in the past, and weight training. So I'm in the gym, and then I love yoga and stretching. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure all of those help manage pain in great ways.
Yes, yes. I also have neuropathic pain.
Okay.
Yeah. So fun story. COVID was going on. It was right before the lockdown. And I was training for a half marathon in San Diego. And I was doing 8 miles. I was coming back into my neighborhood. And I was going along, and I got on the sidewalk. Big mistake. On the sidewalk, I wasn't paying attention because when you're running, you're trained to not look down, you look straight up. But there was an area of the sidewalk that was uneven. And I tripped with this foot. And I went down and I tried to catch myself and land. And so when I landed, it was bad. I twisted and tore my LCL, ACL, MCL, PCL. So all my ligaments tore. And I damaged the nerve that runs through there, the peroneal nerve. And I had paralysis in this foot. I was unable to walk. And ever since then, I had to have 2 surgeries. I had to do physical therapy, so I know pain.
Definitely.
But still, right here, it still feels numb and tingling and on the top of my foot. But occasionally, I'll get some stinging neuropathic pain there.
Neuropathic. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for, because that's it. I've just been for years, and it's recently where I'm getting like burning hands, like my hands are burning. And I'm just like, I get to the point where I was like, I'm just making it up. I'm just making this up because I just could not get an answer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So.
Well, I'm very excited to see how this unfolds. I think it's a great idea that most people, we just don't even think about, don't even consider.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to chat about that we haven't quite gotten to this morning? Not necessarily.
I don't have anything else to say.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise.
Thank
and like
you.
I said, you are a real life superhero.
Oh,
And
thank you.
thank you for all that you do.
Awesome. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, direct message myself or Glenn. If you are looking to be a sponsor, love to have you on the show as well. Thank you so much, and goodbye for now.